Okay, so good day everyone. No? For today, we're going to have a discussion of a very interesting one, no? Conflict resolution and community harmony in our country. I just want to be more focused on the Philippine setting, no? Because of course, I think 1 year na lang election na naman, no? So conflict resolution in the Philippines encompasses various methods and traditions aimed at addressing and mitigating disputes within communities, no? Given the country's diverse cultural landscape, these approaches range from formal legal processes to traditional and community-based mechanisms. So the goal is to achieve peace, understanding, and harmony among conflicting parties, ensuring that disputes do not escalate, no, into violence or prolonged hostility. No? In many rural and indigenous communities, no, traditional conflict resolutions practices play a significant role. No? These practices, no, often involve community elders or respected leaders who mediate disputes, no, based on customary laws and local traditions. So the barangay justice system, a grassroots mechanism rooted in the barangay or yung village or level, no, exemplifies this approach, no? Katulad ng lupong tagapamayapa, no? Facilitate mediation, no? And arbitration, promoting amicable settlements without resulting to formal courts. So, the barangay justice system is instrumental in maintaining community harmony because it provides a decentralized, accessible means for resolving conflicts from minor civil dispute to family disagreements. So, in handling cases locality, the system reduces the burden on higher courts and foster a sense of community involvement and ownership over dispute resolution. And this system emphasizes restorative justice, aiming to restore relationships and community peace rather than simply punishing offenders. So the Philippine government through various agencies support conflict resolutions and community harmony initiative. Katulad po ng DILG, Department of Interior and Local Government, and the National Commission on Indigenous People or yung NCEP natin, work to integrate traditional practices with formal legal frameworks. Siyempre, meron tayong mga non-governmental organizations, also play a vital role providing mediation training, legal assistance, and promoting dialogue between conflicting parties, especially in areas affected by insurgencies or inter-ethnic tensions. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. So my topic is on conflict resolution and community harmony. So actually po, dalawa po kami mag-report dito with Miss Lorlyn Sorita. So later po after my report, we will play po yung kanyang recorded report. So ito pong conflict resolution and community harmony. Alam po naman po natin na yung conflict resolution and community harmony are vital components of local governance, indispensable for cultivating inclusive and flourishing communities. Conflict identification and resolution entails comprehending the origins of disputes within local communities and creating efficient strategies to tackle them. These disputes can arise from diverse origins such as socioeconomic inequalities, cultural gaps, and conflicting interests in distributing resources. Mga local governments can enhance community cohesion by utilizing mediation, negotiation, and consensus building techniques to minimize conflicts and encourage peaceful outcomes. Isang mechanism nga po dito, yung sinabi ni Sir kanina, yung katarungan pambarangay, wherein lahat ng mga conflicts ay dapat pwede po siyang ma-resolve dun sa barangay. Yung promoting community cohesion necessitates cultivating discourse and collaboration among heterogeneous community factions. This entails establishing inclusive environments that foster open dialogue and facilitate productive conversations aimed at cultivating trust and comprehension among stakeholders with divergent viewpoints. Cultural competency and sensitivity are essential for fostering concord as they empower local governments to effectively meet the distinct needs and concerns of varied groups. Through the promotion of inclusivity and equality in conflict resolution procedures, local governments may guarantee the inclusion of all perspectives and ensure that solutions are tailored to address the specific needs of excluded groups. So, dun sa conflict resolution and community harmony, the concept of good governance, the concept of good governance emerged in the early 1980s as a means to address poverty reduction and promote sustainability development. Many governments, particularly those in wealthy countries, along with international and regional organizations, have recognized the significance of this notion as a developmental tool. In recent decades, the concept of governance has been a central topic in modern discussions within the field of social science, particularly in the realm of public administration. So the concept of good governance has become a subject of controversy in the past 3 decades, serving as a means to assess the exercise of authority by government or states. The term good refers to the government's ability to perform activities in a proficient manner. And the phrase governance naman is a broad concept that carries significant consequences. This notion has been employed for several decades, dating back to the 14th century and possesses 2 distinct interpretations depending on the perspective from which it examined. So good governance is an essential contemporary system that facilitates the interaction between those in power and those being governed with the aim of achieving important objectives. So in the modern era, for any government or public organization to maintain its position, it must ensure that it is responsive to the needs of its citizens at all times and in all places. This provision of services to the people is a crucial responsibility of every state, regardless of its political structure, be it democratic or autocratic. So the quality of service delivery results in that is determined by the interrelationships of involvement, transparency, and accountability between the government and its population. Meanwhile, a primary concern of the government is to guarantee the quality of services provided by various institutions. Accessible, affordable, and efficient service delivery is crucial for governments to enhance the quality of life and foster a sense of trust. So this is why many governments are increasingly prioritizing citizen-centric approaches. This collaboration enables all stakeholders to collectively address the challenges faced by public institutions. Moreover, this strategy is regarded as a crucial concept that empowers individuals to participate in the decision-making process that directly impacts their lives. In essence, the decisions pertain to the determining which services to offer and the most effective means of delivery. So yung participation of the public in local government affairs, ito ay fundamental principle and good governance. As it pertains to the principle of good governance, it motivates citizens to actively engage in the political affairs of their country. This sort of participation can take shape of either direct involvement by citizens themselves or indirect involvement through their elected officials. Ito po ay isang halimbawa po nito ay yung mga local development councils. Ang local development councils po, meron po sa provinces, may provincial development council, municipal, city, hanggang sa barangay level po ay merong local development council. So bawat local development council po, represented po doon ang mga CSOs or yung mga civil society organizations. So at least 1/4 po ng composition, sa kabuuang composition po ng mga local development council ay dapat po, yun po ang representation ng mga civil society organizations or yung mga NGOs. So ang mga local development councils ay chaired ito ng the local chief executives po. At ang mga members po ay yung mga component po nila or yung mga sakop po nilang mga local government units. Halimbawa po sa provinces, member po doon lahat ng mga city or lahat ng mga municipal mayors, kasama po doon yung mga mayor ng mga independent component cities. Sa mga highly urbanized cities po, ang chairman po yung city mayor, kasamang member po doon ang lahat po ng mga barangay or mga punong barangays nila. Kasama rin po sa member ng mga local development councils ay ang representative po ng congressman. Mga congressmen kung maraming districts po ang nakakasakop sa isang LDC. So, and then po, kung mapapansin po natin, lahat po ng yung mga committees na binubuo, mga councils na binubuo po sa mga local government units from the provinces down to the barangay, ay meron pong required po yung representation ng mga civil society organizations. And then dito rin po doon sa mga local development councils po, no? Yung mga CSO participation or yung participation po ng mga NGOs or mga private sectors or people's organizations, kailangan po sila ay accredited po ng their respective sangguniang panglungsod. So meron pong accreditation and selection process po kung paano po sila mag-participate doon sa mga local development councils. So ito po, enhancing transparency in local government. Transparency is another crucial element of good governance philosophy. It highlights the need of following norms and guidelines when making decisive choices and recognizing them as part of the decision-making process. The stipulation requires the dissemination of sufficient information in a manner and media that is easily understood and transparent to the public, ensuring consistency and accountability to those who may be affected. Transparency ensures that the decisions taken by the administration are disclosed and that the implementation of these decisions adheres to freely available and fair norms and principles benefiting both those directly affected by the decisions and the general public. Transparency refers to the capacity for individuals to obtain prompt, comprehensive, pertinent, validated, and dependable information about the economic, political, and social decisions made by governments, the ownership, status of private sector organizations, and the operations of international organizations. So transparency can be classified as the presence of policies that are utilized to oversee and regulate government operations, as well as the right to access information pertaining to all aspects of government functions, including the mechanisms by which the executive and legislative branches maintain checks and balances. The government should establish systems by which citizens can access information such as through publications and broadcasting channels. Sa local government po, makikita po natin yung transparency. Meron pong full disclosure policy na sinusunod ang mga local government units. So sa full disclosure policy, meron pong through the portal, meron pong full disclosure policy portal kung saan po makikita po natin, nakapost po doon yung mga iba't ibang financial documents or mga transactions po ng mga local government units. Hanggang sa barangay level po ay nakasunod po sila or dapat po sumunod sila doon sa full disclosure policy. So ang full disclosure policy po ay nire-require po sila doon sa Local Government Code of 1991 na i-post po yung kanilang mga different financial transactions. So maliban po doon sa portal, kung saan makikita po natin sa internet, sa internet, meron din po silang dapat mag-post din po sila in 3 strategic areas within the local government. Mag-post po sila ng board. Mayroon silang full disclosure policy board. Ganon din po sa mga barangays. So isa po 'yun sa mga sa system na na-develop din po ng DILG para po maipakita yung transparency ng mga local government units. And then dun sa yung kanilang back, yung Bids and Awards Committee. So ano rin po ito, isa rin po sa participation po ng ng mga CSOs, represented din po doon ng ang mga CSOs sa BAC or Bids and Awards Committee. Ganon din po. Doon isa rin po yung napagpapakita ng kanilang transparency. Ang membership ng CSO dun sa kanilang Bids and Awards Committee. So equality in local government. So good governance encompasses the guarantee of equal and complete opportunities for all individuals to enhance or maintain their prosperity equally. The criterion of crucial for good governance as it requires all decisions of an organization to be made within a framework that is focused on external factors and future-oriented. The norm guarantees the following: respect for the dignity of every individual, equality of rights and opportunities without any kind of discrimination. It is universally inclusive and integrated for all members of the public. It also emphasizes the well-being of the society, which is primarily sustained by the sense of social membership and a feeling of camaraderie among all citizens. This ensures that every individual is provided with equitable opportunities to enhance their well-being and further advance their prosperity within society. So ito po, equality in local government. Sana po lahat po ng mga local government officials ay na-observe po nila yung equality. Hindi yung kasi minsan may mga local government officials from local government officials and sometimes sa mga national officials na kung sino po yung sino po yung mga kasama nila or nag-support, mga supporters nila ng election, kung minsan yun lang ang nakaka-benefit dun sa mga programs or mga projects ng government. Sila yung prioritize nila. So dapat po iwasan sana yung discrimination. And then may mga may mga cases din po na mga sa barangays po, yung issuance po ng mga barangay clearance. So nagkakaroon po ng discrimination doon kapag hindi po hindi registered voter sa kanilang barangay, do residents na ng matagal sa barangay nila pero hindi registered voter sa barangay nila, minsan hindi nakaka-avail po ng mga benefits and or services ng government or ng barangay. So isa yun sa mga example po naman. Example po ng equality in local government. Yung discrimination. And then accountability of local government. Accountability is a fundamental pillar of effective governance. Accountability is an intricate and multifaceted concept that is challenging to define precisely. Accountability is the process by which a person or group can be held responsible for their actions. The government is responsible and answerable to the general populace. At the local level, it is imperative that every local government official is held accountable to the citizens whom the government is serving. Accountability encompasses various aspects such as performance accountability, budget accountability, and all other operations carried out by local government. The level of good governance is directly proportional to the extent of accountability held by society as a whole, especially by public officials and governing organizations. Good governance necessitates the combined efforts of legal and ethical principles to enhance the responsibility of individuals and organizations. The principle of accountability emphasizes that all sectors, including the business, community-based organizations, public sector, universities, media, and individuals who are part of responsible groups should be held accountable to the general public. Accountability can be classified according to horizontal, vertical, societal, and political systems. The current functions of civil society in advancing good governance, including accountability, rule of law, transparency, responsiveness, and participation have significant importance in all nations. So ito pong accountability. So makikita rin po natin itong accountability doon sa kanilang yung full disclosure policy. And then yung accountability nila, so ang mga local government executives, magkakaroon po sila ng anong tawag dito, yung parang SONA, yung state of the governance report or city governance report po. Or sa barangay naman, ito yung tinatawag nilang state of the barangay governance report. So dito po nagre-report po sila paano yung naging performance nila sa mga nakaraang mga buwan. Every year po ito ay ginagawa ng province, ng city, ng municipality hanggang down to the barangay level. Nagre-report po sila sa public. Then dun sa conflict identification and resolution. Conflict identification, it involves recognizing the existence of conflicts or potential conflicts within a given context. So ang process po dito begins with acknowledging the presence of disagreements, tensions, or opposing interests among parties. This step often requires active listening, observation, and understanding of the underlying causes of or triggers of the conflict. Ang common signs of conflict naman may include increased tension, communication, breakdowns, competing interests, or observable disagreements in behaviors or opinions. Various tools and techniques such as conflict mapping, stakeholder analysis, and dialogue facilitation can be employed to identify and assess conflicts effectively. And then dun sa conflict resolution, refers to the process of addressing and resolving conflicts in constructive and peaceful manner. There are several approaches to conflict resolution, including negotiation, mediation, arbitration, consensus building, and restorative justice. The key principles naman po dito, conflict resolution processes often involve principles such as impartiality, transparency, confidentiality, and the promotion of mutual understanding and respect among parties. So, in summary po, sa conflict resolution po, ang goal po nito is to find mutually acceptable solutions to conflicts, address underlying issues, restore relationships, and prevent further escalation or harm. And the outcome is successful conflict resolution results in the resolution of disputes, the improvement of relationships, and the promotion of cooperation and harmony among parties involved. So in summary, conflict identification involves recognizing the presence of conflicts, while conflict resolution entails addressing and resolving conflicts through various methods and approaches. Both processes are essential for managing conflicts effectively and promoting peaceful coexistence within communities, organizations, and societies. So ang solution ay through the katarungan pambarangay. Ito po yung tinatawag po nilang barangay justice system. So ang barangay justice system ay matatagpuan din po. Meron pong may provision po doon sa Local Government Code of 1991 doon sa Book 3. So ang objective po nitong katarungan pambarangay ay para po, nabanggit na rin po ni Sir kanina, para po hindi na maidiretso sa court yung mga kaso dahil napakaraming kaso na sa court. So ito po ay para maiwasan din po yung pagsampa na sa pagsampa ng demanda sa korte. At isa rin po dito ay para po doon pa lang po sa barangay level ay ma-resolve na ng mga barangay officials or ma-resolve na ng mga lubong tagapamayapa yung mga conflict ng mga magkakapit bahay. So, yun po, may mga proseso po doon. Meron pong mediation before the punong barangay. Ang una po ay mediation. Upon filing yung complaint po sa punong barangay, ay the following day, papadalhan na po ng summon yung mga padadalhan ng summon yung respondent at notice of hearing naman po yung complainant. And then within 5 days dapat ay mapatawag na sila for the initial hearing. So wala naman pong wala naman pong first, second, or third hearings basta po papagharap sila sa mediation. So pag nagkasundo po sila, magkakaroon po sila ng kasunduan or yung amicable settlement. So pipirmahan po sila. And then kung hindi po kasi may period lang po na dapat i-observe ng punong barangay yung mediation process. Dapat 15 days lang sa yung mediation process. So bakit po pala may period na ino-observe ang lupong tagapamayapa or ng barangay, yung filing po ng yung complaint po doon sa barangay. Dahil po ang bawat kaso po ay merong prescriptive period na dapat maisampa sa court yung kaso. So ang complaint po sa barangay ay dapat po hindi siya lalagpas ng 60 days. So kapag lumagpas po ng 60 days, baka po mag-prescribe na yung kaso at hindi na pwedeng isampa doon sa court. So isang rin po itong yung katarungang pambarangay po. So sa mediation kay punong barangay 15 days, and then after 15 days pag hindi niya napagkasundo, meron po may conciliation process po 'yon. So conciliation process, meron po mga lupong tagapamayapa. So ngayon si punong barangay pag hindi niya napagkasundo, bubuuin niya yung pangkat tagapagkasundo composed of 3 lupong tagapamayapa na pipiliin po ng both parties yung respondent at saka ng complainant. And then mag-undergo po sila ng yung conciliation po. So for 15 days. And then kung halimbawa hindi pa makita nila na talagang wala ng pag-asa na magkasundo pa, ay mag-issue na ang barangay, ang lupong tagapamayapa or yung tagapagkasundo ng certificate to file action. And then kung makikita nila yung 15 days na sinabi ng batas na pagkasunduin under conciliation, kung makikita naman po ng tagapagkasundo na konti na lang ay magkakasundo na yung dalawang parties, ay pwede po pong ma-extend ng another 15 days. So ang objective po nitong katarungang pambarangay po talaga ay sana dapat iwasan ng barangay or ng lubong tagapamayapa na makapag-issue sila ng certificate to file action. Dahil ang objective po talaga ng katarungang pambarangay ay pagkasunduin po yung dalawang parties. So that's all po for my report, and then I will ang next na reporter po, ang kasunod po nitong aking report ay yung report po ni Miss Lorlyn Zorita. Meron po mag-play ng kanyang so i-play ko na lang po. Tingnan ko kung nakashare po yung kanyang PowerPoint or recorded presentation.
Ma'am Rodelia, ako na lang po
Yes po.
mag-play. Ako na po mag-play.
May mag-share na po. Okay po.
Yes po.
Stop share ko na lang po.
This is second part of our report with Ms. Dineo, and my topic is Understanding Sources of Conflict in Local Communities. Understanding the sources of conflict in local communities involves identifying the underlying factors that contribute to tensions, disagreements, and disciples among individuals or groups within a community. These sources can vary widely and are often interconnected, stemming from social, economic, cultural, political, and environmental factors. Here are some common sources of conflict in local communities. First, socioeconomic disparities. Disparities in wealth, income, access to resources, and opportunities can create tensions within communities. Economic inequalities may lead to feelings of resentment, marginalization, and competition for limited resources, such as affordable housing, employment, and educational opportunities. Next is cultural differences. In cultural backgrounds, values, beliefs, and traditions can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts within diverse communities. Cultural dashes may arise from language barriers, religious practices, ethnic identity, and conflicting norms or customs. Next is competing interests. Conflicts can arise when individuals or groups have competing interests or goals that are perceived as incompatible. Competing interests may involve land use, development projects, natural resource management, or regularity decisions that impact different stakeholders differently. Historical grievances. Past injustices, conflicts, or trauma can linger within communities, fueling ongoing tensions and resentment. Historical grievances related to colonization, discrimination, displacement, intergroup violations may resurface and contribute to contemporary conflicts. Next is political polarization. Political differences and partisan divisions can exacerbate tensions within communities, particularly during times of political uncertainty or change. Ideological differences, electoral contests, and policy debates may lead to polarization or divisions and conflict among residents within divergent political affiliations. Next, environmental pressures. Environmental issues such as competition for natural resources, pollution, climate change impacts, or environmental degradation can trigger conflicts within communities. Disputes over land use, water rights, waste management, or environmental justice may arise due to conflicting interests and priorities. Next is social inclusion and exclusion and discrimination. Social exclusion, discrimination, and prejudice based on race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, age, or disability can lead to conflicts and social unrest. Marginalization groups may experience systematic inequalities and face barriers to full participation in community life.
They're 100% true. Ang gusto ng asawa ko ay palagi kaming
Hindi. Hindi. Thank you for coming. Thank you pinuntahan mo. Baka makabili mo. Ayun. Sige, akala ko din mo ko pupuntahan.
Implementing conflict resolution mechanisms. Implementing conflict resolution mechanisms in local government and regional administration involves establishing processes and procedures to address disputes, tensions, and disagreements within the community. These mechanisms aim to facilitate constructive dialogue, promote understanding, and find mutually acceptable solutions to conflicts. Here are key steps implementing conflict resolution mechanisms. First, establishing mediation programs. Local governments can establish mediation programs staffed by trained mediators who facilitate communication and negotiation between conflicting parties to express their concerns. Identify common ground and work upward towards mutually satisfactory agreements. Next is creating conflict resolution centers. Setting up dedicated conflict resolution centers of offices within local government or regional administration can provide accessible resources and support for individuals and groups seeking assistance with conflict resolution. These centers may offer mediation services, conflict coaching training, workshops, and referrals to other community resources. Next is training staff and officials. Training and officials in conflict resolution skills and techniques is essential for effectively managing conflicts within local government and regional administration. Providing training in mediation, negotiation, communication, and cultural competence equips personnel with the necessary tools to address conflict professionally and impartially. Next is developing policies and procedures. Developing clear policies and procedures for conflict resolution ensures consistency and fairness in how conflicts are addressed within local government and regional administration. These policies should outline the steps for reporting conflict, accessing conflict resolution services, maintaining confidentiality, and resolving disputes in a timely manner. Next is promoting collaboration and dialogue. Promoting collaboration and dialogue among stakeholders is essential for resolving conflicts and building consensus. Local governments can facilitate community forums, stakeholders meetings, and roundtable discussions to encourage open communication, foster understanding, and explore related solutions to complex issues. Utilizing online platforms Utilizing online platforms and technology can enhance access to conflict resolution services and facilitate remote mediation and communication. Online platforms can provide information about conflict resolution resources, enable virtual mediation sessions, and host discussion forums for community members to engage in dialogue. Next is engaging community leaders and organizations and grassroots initiatives is crucial for being support for conflict resolution efforts and reaching marginalized or hard to reach populations. Collaborating with trusted community leaders and organizations can help promote awareness of available services and encourage participation in conflict resolution processes. Next and the last one is evaluating and monitoring programs. Regularly evaluating and monitoring conflict resolution programs allows local governments to assess their effectiveness, identify access areas for improvement, and make necessary adjustments. Collecting feedback from participants, tracking outcomes, and measuring the impact of conflict resolution initiatives ensures accountability and transparency in the process. Local governments and regional administrations are able to effectively address problems, foster community cohesion, and create trust among inhabitants when they put these tools for conflict resolution into action. By providing individuals and groups with the resources and assistance they require to resolve conflicts in a peaceful manner. These mechanisms ultimately contribute to the overall well-being and resilience of the community. Okay, next, some key components of building community harmony include um, communication. Encouraging open, honest, and respectful communication among community members is crucial for understanding different viewpoints and resolving conflict peacefully. Next, inclusivity. Promoting inclusivity ensures that all members of the community feel valued and respected regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. Then empathy and understanding. Encouraging empathy and understanding helps community members appreciate each other's experiences, challenges, and perspectives. Next, collaboration. Facilitating opportunities for collaboration and cooperation on projects and initiatives can help build trust and strengthen relationships among community members. Next, education and awareness. Providing education and raising awareness about diversity, equality, and inclusion issues can help combat stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination within the community. Next, conflict resolution. Developing mechanisms for resolving conflicts peacefully and constructively is essential for maintaining harmony and cohesion and unity within the community. And the last one is celebration of diversity. Celebrating the diversity of the community through cultural events, festivals, and activities can help foster a sense of pride and belonging among all members. Overall, building community harmony requires a concerted effort from all members to promote understanding, respect, and cooperation, ultimately leading to a more cohesive and resilient community. Fostering dialogue and cooperation among diverse community groups is essential for building understanding, trust, and unity. Through open and inclusive communication, individuals from different backgrounds, cultures, and perspectives can come together to address common challenges and pursue shared goals. Fostering dialogue and cooperation among diverse community groups is a multifaceted endeavor that requires proactive engagement and continuous effort. One crucial aspect is creating inclusive spaces and platforms where individuals feel comfortable expressing themselves and participating in discussions. This might involve organizing community forums, town hall meetings, or online platforms where people can share their perspectives, experiences, and concerns. Moreover, providing educational opportunities and workshops can help increase awareness and understanding of different cultures, backgrounds, and viewpoints. These sessions can cover topics such as cultural sensitivity, unconscious bias, and effective communication strategies, equipping community members with the tools they need to engage constructively with one another. In addition to formalized events, informal gatherings and social activities can also play a vital role in fostering connections and building relationships across diverse groups. Thus, this might include cultural celebrations, potluck dinners, or community service programs projects that bring people together in a spirit of collaboration and mutual support. Furthermore, it's essential to effectively listen to and acknowledge the perspectives of marginalized or underrepresented groups within the community. This requires creating opportunities for these voices to be heard and ensuring that their concerns are addressed in decision-making processes. Building community harmony through dialogue and cooperation is an ongoing process that requires commitment and perseverance. By embracing diversity, promoting inclusivity, and actively engage with one another, communities can create environments where all members feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute to the collective well-being. This is all my report, and thank you for listening. God bless.
Okay. In regions such as Mindanao, where long-standing conflicts have caused significant social upheaval, peace building efforts are critical. So initiatives like the Bangsamoro peace process seek to address the root causes of conflict through political agreements, economic development, and social reconciliation. So programs focus on demilitarization, integration of former combatants, and creating inclusive governance structure that respect the rights, and identities of diverse group. So the Philippines is home to various religious communities, and interfaith dialogue is essential for fostering mutual understanding and respect. Now, organizations like the Bishop Ulama Conference promote a dialogue between Christian and Muslim leaders, aiming to bridge gaps and resolve misunderstanding. These efforts contribute to reducing religiously motivated conflicts and building a culture of peace and tolerance. Education and awareness campaigns are fundamental in promoting community harmony. Schools and community programs teach conflict resolution skills, cultural sensitivity, and importance of peaceful coexistence. So by educating the youth and community members, these initiatives aim to prevent conflicts, and promote a proactive approach to handling disagreements, fostering a culture of dialogue and cooperation. So despite significant efforts, challenges remain in achieving sustainable conflict resolution and community harmony in our country. So issues such as political corruptions, no? Andyan yung socio-economic disparities, andyan yung cultural misunderstanding that can hinder progress. So moving forward, a comprehensive approach that combines traditional practices, legal frameworks, government support, and community involvement is essential because continuous efforts to strengthen the barangay justice system, enhance interfaith and intercultural dialogue, and address underlying socioeconomic issues will be crucial for lasting peace and harmony. So our presenters mentioned conflict resolution and community harmony in our country involve a blend of traditional practices, formal mechanisms, government initiatives, and NGO efforts. So by addressing conflicts at the grassroots level and promoting dialogue and understanding, these approaches aim to create a peaceful and cohesive society. However, ongoing challenges necessitate a multifaceted and sustained efforts to ensure lasting harmony. So I think that's it for